Here with Concordia head cross country coach Matt Beisel to preview the 2019 season, rapidly approaching. I know preseason training has been underway, and you got the team here a little bit early before school started.
Yep.
If we look back a little bit first, I know over the past seasons, the past few seasons, both teams have kind of been moving their way up a little bit in top four in the conference last season. What has it taken to kind of make that sort of progress so far?
There are a lot of different elements. I think every sports team probably has these same pieces, just in different ways that they work. But there's obviously do you have the talent level on the team, and do you have the depth of that talent so that if someone has a bad day, somebody else can step up. So that's kind of the physical piece. Is the training going well? Are they responding to the training? Did anyone get hurt? We also have the mental piece, and I think that's one of the biggest things that continues to get better each year, of where they're at as a team and how much they believe in their capability and what they want to get out of this. And I think we just year by year, since I took over 3 years ago, now on my fourth season, those were all great years. But every year's gotten better in a lot of different dimensions. And this year, after our preseason and all the good work we've gotten done and the goals that were set and the overall energy and atmosphere of the team is beyond what it's been in past years for me here. And so I think we're definitely at a place where we're ready to move up into that top three and fight for a first place finish on both sides.
And as mentioned, your runners arrived a little bit early ahead of class time. What has the process been like since they got here and trying to get them ready for a season that's coming up fast?
Yeah, well, it all started back in June. With distance, they don't get as much time off as some of our sprinters and hurdlers do. I think there's varying reasons for that, but basically they've got to start their process so that when they get here, they're kind of at their peak volume. And so I sit down at the end of the track season, both with our incoming kids and our returners, and I tell them to take 2 weeks off after their last track meet, whenever that is. If they really need a third week, then definitely take it if they're pretty beat up mentally, physically. But then during that interim time, I call each of the people and I talk to them on the phone, and I ask them, I'm like, where are you at emotionally? Where are you at physically? And what do you want to try to get out of this next season? And of course, with my returning kids, I have a really good knowledge of what their last cross-country season was like, how track went for them. And then with the new kids, I have to dig a little more and kind of say, okay, did you have an injury history? How many years have you been training? What was your peak approximate mileage during cross-country and track? And then I will say, hey, I think we should move you to this mileage group. You were at 45 miles a week as your peak. Last year, you did really well. You were healthy. You improved. Let's move you up to the 50-mile group. And some kids will be like, that's fine. Others like, can I do 55? And so we kind of work together to say for each kid, what is it that is going to help me to kind of take that next step? With some kids, we're done with mileage. It's like, oh, I'm a middle distance runner who likes to run cross country, but we have all of our 800 people doing cross, and some of them are really cross country runners, and some of them don't prefer to do the races, and so we just have them as a training group. But so there's different goals within that. When I get to the summertime, I start programming workouts, and we have a mixed group of workouts. They have to do them on their own, but we're getting in long runs, we're getting in some threshold type stuff, we're getting some hill work in, we're getting easy running. Coach Berner's sending us weight workouts, and so they have little videos so all the freshmen know what to do. There's body weight if you don't have access to a weight room. So when they got here, those kids clearly did their work over the summer, because from the very first workout, both the freshmen and the returning kids were moving well, obviously in good shape, and we've gotten some great workouts done since then. So that's my long-winded answer to your short question, but there's just a lot that goes into it. And now we start looking towards conference and nationals and seeing how to get ourselves where we need to be, from now till then.
So you already answered my question basically about what you hope to get out of them during the summer months and how that works out, but have things changed a lot even since you got here as far as how you approach what each individual needs to do. And it sounds like you already kind of had been tailoring it to what each individual, what works best for them.
Right. I mean, again, like we have a range of people, and some of what I do with you in cross country depends on what your key races are in outdoor. If you're more of a 5K, 10K marathoner, we're going to really be gradually ramping your mileage up higher and higher each year, and you're going to have more intervals, things like that. If you're more of an 800-mile person, you're going to be maxed out at a different mileage pretty far down because they need different things. But at the same time, we have the same general workouts for everybody. It just might be a difference in the number of reps or whatever. General principles have stayed the same. But I have, continued to learn as a coach. That's one of the things I always do is I listen and I read and I go to clinics and I talk to my colleagues, and I listen to the athletes too. Athletes bring great ideas in from their previous places. Some of our middle distance kids, some of the stuff they do with Coach Samuels, they've brought that into and incorporated that into our cross country, whether it's warm-ups and cool-downs, whether it's putting more core and hurdle mobility work in. But it's also, I think while I'm retaining a lot of cross country, distance, aerobic, development and all the pieces that you see with longer intervals and things like that. We've also, I was a sprint coach at the NCAA for 6 years. I love speed and power, and there's a huge need for developing the neuromuscular system and speed and power in our distance runners. And so, for instance, this year we're going to be doing a lot more pieces each week that are similar to what you might have sprinters do. It's not going to be the majority of our training, but it's about increasing, the reactive nature of our athletes, increasing their cadence, increasing or decreasing their contact time with the ground. All of that makes a long distance runner a faster long distance runner. And so those are things that have evolved over the last 3 years.
Okay. Well, let's look at some of the individuals that make up this team. I know, at least if we look first at the women's side, you lose a really good distance runner with Taylor Grove graduating. You also had a couple other all-conference runners with Rebecca Henricks and Abby Deloach. What can you say that you expect out of those two coming off very good years? Yeah,
Taylor was an outstanding runner for us, and we will be missing her. She got a graduate assistant position out in Washington, so she'll be coaching out there. But yes, we have Rebecca and Abby returning, and both of them have made huge progress. Rebecca over 3 years, and then with Abby just making a huge leap as a freshman last year from what she did in high school to become one of my top runners. And so I think both of them are going to continue to perform well. Rebecca especially has a lot of just mental maturity on being able to get out there and put herself out. And Abby's gotten a lot better in the last year with that. So I think those two are definitely going to be key players for sure. We also have a bunch of other returners like Alyssa Bierwagen. I could name others, but these are people who've been racing now for 2 to 3 years, and they're going to be able, I just see where they're at right now. They're going to be tough. Alyssa had a really outstanding track season, made nationals in the 4x800. She placed pretty high in the 1500 in the mile indoors. She's at a place this last spring that she hasn't been, and I think it's really going to pay off for cross country. So there's a lot of people who had great track seasons in the returning group that I'm excited about to see what they can do once they get on the cross country course.
What are some of maybe the early impressions that you've noticed from training with the women so far, and maybe there's some that are really pushing even Rebecca and Abby at the top?
Well, I can't, I didn't mention Hannah Redmond earlier, but Hannah is a Kickapoo High School from Springfield, Missouri, high school grad, and then she went to Pitt State for 2 years down in Kansas. She came and made an immediate impact last year. She placed for us in the 10K outdoor, and she placed in the 5K and 3K indoor, and so she's definitely another one of those top 3 to 4 type individuals. Lydia Cook's another one from Perryville, Missouri. She really took off last year. She learned how to steeplechase, ended up running extremely well at conference, and has just become, and she obviously got training because she is, and so we have this group, we haven't even mentioned the freshmen yet, but we have this group of returning athletes, Erin Lindeman, Lydia, Sydney Clark, all these girls who are mainly juniors and seniors with a few sophomores thrown in, who are running as a pack, and you've got a second pack right behind them, and they're all within a very short distance of each other. It's really great to see. I have high expectations, and I think they do too.
And moving over to the men, I know Wyatt Lear is the returning all-conference runner that you have on that side. What do you see in his development, and who may be really pushing him for that top spot? Yeah,
we've got another situation with the guys where Wyatt had a great cross-country season. He had, just, I think as a freshman, got a little bit fatigued and down during the spring, so it wasn't like he ran badly, he just didn't progress, which is not unexpected for freshmen. He ran pretty well, but he didn't place at conference. However, he seems recharged, and I think this happens to your sophomores. After they've had a year under their belts, they come back and everything's normal. I think he's going to have another good year. He's looking great right now. Jordan Lorenz is probably one to watch as well. He placed for us in the 10K at conference with a fourth place in the conference. He killed it in the distance events indoor, and he's looking very, very strong. You've got Patrick Schneeberger. You've got Christian, who did the steeplechase for us last year as a sophomore. Christian Van Cleve, who ran phenomenal times in the 800 on our All-American 4x8 team. He's looking great. J.P. Reynolds, Zach Potratz. I mean, there's a whole host of guys who are, Nick Zadar, who are looking good on the returning group, and it's, kind of anybody's guess right now who's going to kind of, how that's going to shake out ability-wise once we put them on an 8K course.
And then certainly we haven't really talked much about the new class. How is that group coming along, and what kind of boost do they provide for both men and women?
See this smile?
Yeah.
So I'm super happy about the returning kids. We did lose 3 of our top 7 on the guys' side, and so always that's a little bit of a concern, but I feel like every one of the returners had such a great track season. And then let's start with the ladies. On their side, for the freshmen, we have a group of freshman girls. 3 right off the bat are notable just because they were state level performers. But we've got, Amy Martin from Fox High School in Missouri is probably our top incoming freshman on the girls' side. Here's a young woman that broke a 38-year school record at her high school, and it's a big high school. Ran 11:09 in the 3200. She ran 5:15 in the 1600, and then she had a 5K last year where she went 18:51, and those are all extremely solid times. And from the mile all the way to the 5K to have that range is a really good thing. She's got a great attitude. She's like a spark plug to everyone around her, just super energetic personality, and I think it's been a lot of fun to add her onto the team. And then you bring on Kylan Heritage from Melba High School in Idaho, and Kylan was state champion in her class in the 800 this year. She ran 2:21, but she also is a great 3200 and 1600 runner, and then she placed 4th at state in cross country last year in Idaho and ran 1908. So there's 2 people right there. Then you bring in Bailey Van Arsdal from Hershey, Nebraska. Bailey, it kind of comes from one of those situations where it's a tiny little school. She's the one fast girl in the distance group. She holds all her school records, but she self-admittedly says, I've never really had anyone push me in practice. And so she's just been like overjoyed at practice the last week or so, because she's like, oh, I'm surrounded by, people that, can push me and whatever. And it's such a great, you see that all the time. And I think she's another, as long as we keep all of them healthy, who could really step up into that sub-20 group pretty quickly and make an impact. We have some other freshmen, a couple who've never done cross-country, Molly Rathjen and Caitlin Richardson, who it's a question mark as far as how they'll develop, but Molly especially seems to really love the distance. She played softball for Osceola for 4 years, like her older sister Miranda. I didn't mention Miranda. Oh, sorry, Miranda. Miranda's another one of our top returning people. So you have those girls, and then Abigail Stair from Heartland Lutheran and Hannah Munt from Kansas City Lutheran. Like, it's such a great group of positive young women. Bring immediate energy into our returning group. I can't wait to see what happens when they start racing together. On the guys' side, we've got a big group of guys that are all talented freshmen. Camden Cessna from Kearney Catholic placed at state. I think he got 7th at state in cross country this last year. We've got Antonio Blaine from Faith Christian in Colorado, Owen Dawson from Valley Lutheran in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Okay, I know there's a fourth one. Hold on, my brain.
Is it Zach Johnson?
Yes, thank you. Zach Johnson from Aberdeen Central High School in South Dakota. Those 4 guys all had really, really good 3,200 times this year in track, and they are hanging with the big dogs. They're out there mixing it up. And then you've got a couple of people like McCoy Menke, who's transferred in. He's never done cross country before. He was an 800 runner. He's looking good. I could just keep going with this. Cameron Gray from Riverside Community College in California. Another great group of guys. I don't know. Can you tell I'm just kind of jacked? Here's the thing. Every single year I've been here, and I give all credit to God, we talk to so many people, and I get told no by some wonderful people, but I also get told yes every year by these wonderful people, and then they keep coming in. Our team dynamic gets better, and I just feel like we're on the cusp of doing some really great things this fall, and I think the athletes are at a point mentally where they are all jacked up and they're ready to do what it takes to get there and to have that champion mindset. So right now I'm riding a big rush, and excited and hopeful about the future.
Yeah, you seem a little bit excited.
What's not to be excited about?
It seems like
might be lack of sleep. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, every athlete wants the chance to compete at nationals, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, where are you at? I mean, how close? I know that's what a lot of runners are probably going to mention, that they want that opportunity. How close are they getting to that?
That's a really tough thing to say, because I feel like we're at a point where things are really going to snowball, but I don't know how much, and there's no way to know. And a lot of it depends on how everyone stays healthy. There's all kinds of different factors that I can't control. I had a meeting with a group of our guys, our returning guys, when we were at preseason camp up at Platte River State Park, and one of the questions one of them asked me was like, "Coach, what do you expect from us?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "What do you expect from us as a team?" And I'm like, "I expect that our men and our women sweep the conference title sooner rather than later, make it to nationals, and then when we start hitting the national scene, then doing everything we can to place high at nationals and eventually contend for a championship. That is what I expect and want." And they were like, "Good, I want to make sure we're on the same page." So even though I'm not going to say we could do or we won't do this, I'm just going to say that the attitude of all of us is very championship focused. And whatever the outcome is, I think a lot of people here would agree with me. If you finish in the top 3 in any of the sports in this GPAC conference, you have done something big. We're not satisfied with 3rd, okay, but I think we're definitely a top 3 team, and then let's see how far we go from there. You've got to win the conference pretty much to guarantee going to nationals as a team. That means upsetting Dort. Dort's been a traditional, historic GPAC champion on the guys and the girls side, and then you've got Hastings on the women's side, got 2nd last year. You had Northwestern on the guys side, had a strong 2nd. Doane edged our guys out by a few points for 3rd, and on the girls side, Northwestern was maybe 12 points, 14 points ahead of our girls. So again, the big question I haven't even looked into, because I want to focus on my kids, not worry about them, is is who did they graduate, who did they bring in. Those are all things that are going to sort themselves out. I think we focus on us taking care of our business and doing the best we can, and everything else is going to take care of itself. And this guy right here prays all the time. I am praying for these kids throughout the day. I just give it up to God. I don't know what his plans are for us. I think he does care about what our efforts lead to, and I know he puts these great desires in the hearts of these young men and women, and so I just continue to encourage them to be in prayer to him, for each other, to be encouraging to each other, and let's see what happens.
All right, very lastly, you probably covered a lot that you're excited about, but anything we haven't gotten to that makes you particularly excited about 2019 cross country?
I think we've kind of covered it. I have so much fun with them, and it's such a privilege to be able to show up every day with these guys and girls and watch them as they work through challenging workouts, to see the triumph of accomplishing those things. And yeah, I think I've pretty much covered. You've heard my enthusiasm. It is legit. I just have really high hopes for this season. I don't know what that's going to end up being in a concrete reality, but again, I think we're poised for something bigger than last year. I think a top 3 finish minimum is well within the grasp of our guys and our girls this year.